Ancestral Connections is a way for me and other members of my family to see geographically where the different branches of my family were in relation to each other for certain events in their life over time. This graph shows events from 1840 through 2020. You can see on the left there are filters for the branches and different events over a person's life, as well as the migration pattern and different update and reset buttons for the map. Along the bottom is a slider for the timeline. So if we go ahead and start clicking through that, if we click on 1850 and zoom in, we can see those residences for all branches of the family. And as you go through the time, you can see that those dots, those marks, add on to the map and build on each other. You can see some patterns already forming, and since this is a world map, you can view that there were events that happened for my family in Germany and Ukraine. So if we switch from residences to look at births, we can update the map, and you see those marks change to the plus signs, which represent the births. Again, you see that same kind of pattern forming, and you can see that there are members of the Stevens line as well as the Zajac and even the Wilkeson line in Germany. When you click on a location, a plus sign, and if there are multiple people there, that shows through the buttons in the upper right. As you select on the different buttons, you can see information about that person. So if we are clicking on this dot in Ukraine, you see that this belongs to Catherine Zajac, and that again is representative of her birth. So if we only want to view members of a certain branch, we can do that. So we're looking at all of the births in the Stevens branch up through 1840 up to 1980. So again, as you're clicking on these different marks, the plus signs that indicate a birth, you can see information about that person. You see all the information about their parents, their spouse and children, as well as event information specific to whatever events you've selected on the left. So you can see the information for these are focused on the birth records. Okay, so we see over here, if we're looking in Tennessee, that Harley, who was a farmer, his child was Charles Edgar, who we can see here and represented in this plus icon, was born in Arkansas. So as you move forward in time, you can see that more events populate, and you can see that some of the family did move in from Northeast America, but a majority of them kind of came in through Pennsylvania and went south to Georgia before going up through Tennessee and Illinois. When looking at the Wilkeson line, again, if you go back in time, those marks build on each other. So you can see that this line was more focused in its travel path to northern Indiana, where they started in Northeast America and followed a steady line over through Ohio and Pennsylvania to northern Indiana. So again, if you click on information, you see that about the person. Here's information about me. Again, the plus icon representing birth. You can see that they have a lot of children, some of when you go farther back in time. But if we were to switch to residences, select the update map, you can see how that changes the marks so that you know you're looking at the residences. So if we were to change all this and look at all of the branches again, you zoom in, those marks change size to fit a more focused section of the map. You can see also how the mark icon color changes if multiple people at that location are from different branches, how those colors layer on top of each other. So if we wanted to view the migration path, we could select that option, and historically we know that migration in America moved from east to west for many. And you can see that the Wilkeson line followed that migration pattern pretty closely. When viewing name frequency over the generations, you can see on the left-hand chart that Charles appears 8 times, and you can see that reflected on the right-hand side along the branch and birth year. You can see that Charles appears in the Stevens line 4 times in a row, which is often indicative of ancestors naming their children after themselves and carrying on that family name. So you can see how those are related on those 2 charts on the bottom. There are also pages on this documentation for about and documentation just of decision making and answers to questions that were posed at the beginning